Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar entitled The Collaborative Night, Where Light and Cities Meet. It's really exciting for us to join this Light for Life series by IES, and thanks to all the team that made it happen. I'm Mark Burton-Page, the General Director of LUCI. LUCI is the international network for cities that focus on urban lighting, gathering over 70 city members and also 50 corporate members worldwide. We're based in Lyon, France, where the network originated nearly 20 years ago now. In this session, we focus on an important aspect of our daily lives, night. And we'll take a fresh look at this emerging field of study and public policy. Of course, we'll talk about lighting because it's really essential for our thriving, beautiful, sustainable cities after dark. In LUCI, we see enormous potential for city-to-city cooperation, dialogue, to share research, to share experience, to share good practices to better illuminate our cities. And the following presentation will showcase some examples. I'm extremely happy, really happy to introduce our speaker, Leni Schwendinger. Leni is a published award-winning authority on many issues of city lighting with over 20 years of experience creating worldwide illuminated environments. And this work is shared through her public speaking, engagement, community envisioning programs like night seeing, for example. Leni is currently directing a startup international nighttime design initiative to establish an after dark design focused profession. Now that's incredible. She'll tell us more about it too. On top of this, Leni is a visiting research fellow at the London School of Economics. She's also a Design Trust for Public Space fellow in New York City. I'm really, really looking forward to this presentation. Now, many thanks, Leni, and over to you.
Hello, everybody. I am Leni Schwendinger, as you know, and I am thrilled to be here amongst you in the world of virtual life to discuss the collaborative night where light and cities meet. I was very interested to do this program with LUCI in order to talk about collaboration between individuals and collaboration between cities. How do we co-design? How do we create cooperative approaches to night? Let's start by talking about nighttime design. Nighttime design is a new practice that about 40 of us are inventing, and we'd like to invite you to join us. What are our goals? We want to increase safety and welcome. We want to enhance public health by extending the hours of walkability and social encounters in public space. And through welcoming environments, walkability, social encounters, we will augment economic vitality. Think about it for a second. After dark, what happens after dark? Cultural events, going to the movies, that's after dark. Going to a concert, that's after dark. So there are many activities throughout the night that are nighttime activities. I want you for a moment to close your eyes. Think of your favorite city. It's nighttime. Turn off the street lights. Those are the required lighting that cities provide. Turn off any facade lighting. Turn off the moon. It's dark. How do you know where to go? Will you trip on the curb? Turn on the street lights. The street lights are the basic light. Let's add some sidewalk or pavement light so that we can increase pedestrianization and the welcome and the walkability. All right, now light up some facades. Now light up a spire or a monument or public artwork in the distance. This is luminous legibility. This is a welcoming night. For nighttime design, please open your eyes. For nighttime design, we have invented an organization, International Nighttime Design Initiative, that's focused on research, education, and we're hoping in the future, we are young, by the way, just 2 to 3 years old, to create a network of global advocacy hubs. That would be people like yourself, lighting designers, citizens, governments, city councils, advocates for cultural activities, people who want to improve the nighttime where they live. So in the future, we hope to have hubs where people can communicate with each other and develop nighttime lighting and amenities. Now here's where we get right into the collaboration motif. I know a lot of you are designers out there and engineers and probably have worked on citywide projects, improving districts, streetscapes, public plazas, different kinds of public works. And you've worked with teams. However, we assert that the teams for nighttime design may be different. Maybe we need mobility experts after dark. Maybe we need retail consultants in this neighborhood that we're improving. What about public health experts? What about transportation and mobility in terms of car crashes, in terms of lack of sidewalks, in terms of lack of transit or transit that is not well planned at night? There is no night bus. There aren't night trains. Play consultants. Is it possible that kids do go out and play after dark? Do we play on the basketball courts after dark? And are they illuminated? What we're saying is that interdisciplinary teams for district situations after dark, for our after dark cities, merit special nighttime teams. Now, LUCI is Lighting Urban Communities International. Their headquarters are in Lyon. There are 74 city members. So whereas we have interdisciplinary professionals working on city teams, here we're discussing cities themselves working together and collaborating. Take a good look at these cities. It's amazing. We've got several continents, which we'll talk about in a minute, and various cultures involved. How do we create consensus? How do we cooperate city to city? We're going to discuss that. There are also 50 associated members, and they are from the largest manufacturers that are supportive and join LUCI at an associate level. But we also have utilities, we have researchers, artists, and light festival organizations. So it's really a wonderful mix of members, associate members. Nighttime design. What are we contributing to cities? What is our raison d'etre? Holistic after dark strategies. The 24-hour city is real in many different ways, whether it's time zones and phone calls, whether it's night workers, whether it's cultural events into the night. The 24-hour city is upon us. Speaking of night shift, that's one of International Nighttime Design's focuses now. The essential workers, or as they say, the key workers that we have: medical, rubbish collection, cleaners, transit drivers. These are essential to the running of our cities. How can we make the nighttime a better place for everyone? How can we make it a better place for the night shift, for the graveyard shift, those of us who get to work around 11 and start moving out and doing our jobs by midnight? What would be a welcoming nighttime environment for those of us who traverse public space throughout the night? Innovative design, innovative ideas require innovative tools. Let's talk a little bit about that. So what you see on the right are the night seeing program. It's a program I've been leading for a decade. The idea is to understand the environment after dark, to put words to it, to elevate our stakeholders, our communities. How can we speak of lighting? Light is so hard to draw. Light is also difficult to photograph. The contrast is so difficult. So I say, let's develop a language of light. Let's distinguish between twinkle and sparkle. Let's decide, let's realize, is it too dark here? Is it too bright here? So you see people in various places all over the world, Lyon, Seattle, Cartagena, Queens, New York, learning about the vernacular night and how to elevate that language to something new so that we can envision the future. Quantitative research is required, and so we need to do our counts, our circulation, our lighting levels. Qualitative research really has to go hand in hand with quantitative. So qualitative is interviews, workshops. You see a workshop here with cards that will remind people of images and atmospheres. After the educational tour, the night seeing tour, we do a workshop to come up with a vision for the future. And once we're educated and ready to go, our communities as well as the professionals, we can create adaptable, responsive lighting for the future. Malleable nights, changeable, flexible nights. We've come up with an idea, shades of night. This is an analysis, a framework to measure both activities, human activities, well, we've got some animals as well, wildlife, people, and the situational, hardscape, the built environment, lights on, lights off, retail open, retail closed, night bus running, night bus, no night bus. Shades of Night is a comparative analysis between human activities and the illumination and activities of the night. So every city will be different, whether the after-work activity is cocktails or shopping for dinner. These are all public space relationships, of course. We're in public space now. Whether after-work activity is going to the movies or playing basketball, skateboarding. Well, in some countries, it's actually dancing in the street. Night shift may occur, as we discussed. There's an evening shift and a night shift. And what about after hours recreation, which could be clubbers coming home? How do the clubbers and the night shift intersect? How can we make public space work for all people? How can we localize public space when nightlife and residential areas compete and noise is too much or brightness is too little? These are the analyses that we must go through and report on. We also have our early risers and dawn. So this is a good framework to apply to any part of the globe. It's going to be different for each geographic and climate and cultural difference of urban environment, suburban environment. It's a framework. It's a way to think about it and to go out and take the measurements, observations. Now, I know most all of you out there in the audience know about smart lighting, and we all know the benefits of smart lighting, connected lighting, central operational capacities and lower energy usage, various digital attachments and smart city sensors. There are lots of good reasons for smart city and smart lighting approaches. I want to talk to you today about the social reasons and the way to capacity build, the way to build communities through smart lighting, with social research with locals and stakeholders, building consensus about new applications, working with the local community. We can join with, let's say, a lighting committee on the city council to make decisions about our electronic control, scenographic approaches. Should it be brighter? Should it be dimmer? Should it change overnight? Should we have color in our entertainment district? Should we turn off the light in residential areas? We know all these things are possible because we're lighting designers and engineers and manufacturers, but the point is to bring the community into the process to create expanded opportunities for our social interaction and capacity building. That means ownership and investment in these new lighting states and welcoming nights. Lighting strategies and master plans are a little less developed in the United States, but you'll see in a minute that LUCI has quite a good focus on strategies and plans. So the point is that we can plan for street lighting, we can plan for monuments, we can plan for the riverside, we can create strategies for the future of lighting, to build on lighting for our city in stages. What are the benefits? An enhanced perception of security and safety, expression of identity through tunable lighting, through the light poles themselves, through smart lighting that is inviting. We can organize the visual environment, reduce clutter, the legibility that we discussed earlier when you closed your eyes, to make spaces, public spaces, city routes more legible, to get through the cities without a GPS, to understand the boundaries, where we are, the character of a district through light as wayfinding, to enhance the characters of streets. And if you do some planning in advance, we have a cost-effective approach. This lighting strategy was all about community building, a roadmap for illumination and community building in Queens, New York City. We worked together with the community to develop a lighting strategy. I'm a big believer in pilots. Not only do we want to test our concept, does it look right, is the quality of light the way we want it, are the technologies interoperable, are the technologies working, but also on the thread of collaboration and public interaction. What are the public responses? Here's a project that we did with Arup and with International Nighttime Design Initiative. Many of that team moved on to our nonprofit to create a different kind of street at night in Cartagena through a test. We created a workshop to show that a kind of historic lantern developed into a modern, sleek shape with LED inside could be transformed into a local lantern. How can we create from the universal into the local and define our streets? I've been working with new urban mobility, which is all about micromobility and the uses of our streets, to create a pilot we call Visual Chime. The idea for Visual Chime is to announce the change of street space allocation. So rather than, well, let us say, if we want to change the street use, let's say here, if we want to change the street use from through traffic to a midnight market, or if we want to change the space to deliveries from through traffic, or if we want to change the space to cycling from through traffic, let's announce that rather than putting up barriers with a beautiful projection that people can play in. And this is a scramble where you can walk across diagonally into our new space. Voila. I decided to have a funny picture of a market in Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan in 1860. Let's create more night markets. Let's create dancing in the street. Let's announce it with a fun, joyful projection. This example is a pilot from Brooklyn in New York. A divider becomes a connector. Have you ever noticed how an overpass divides two parts of a city? Really, every time. We have in America the saying, the other side of the tracks. One side is a more wealthy, generally well-to-do part of the city, and the other side is generally a less well-to-do part of the city. Really, you'll see it everywhere. And as our cities grow, infrastructure like this becomes more and more a part of the city and inside the city. So I've taken it upon myself to become actually the queen of underpasses. I love an underpass. And here you can see a collaboration between an urban designer, landscape architect, and myself creating a connector where there was a divider. So to sum up the nighttime design process, we start with envisioning. We create pilots, strategies, and implementation. Let's now focus on LUCI, the organization, an international network of cities all about urban lighting. As I mentioned earlier, it's 74 cities, 4 continents, 46 countries with the associate members. And now we're going to go into what LUCI does. LUCI has an expanded purview. They feel that light is a facilitator, is a tool to address the larger challenges of our time, including expanding urbanization, climate targets. They can help cities that are competing for attractiveness. I thought this was really interesting. There is a kind of competition between cities for visitors, for residents and workers and businesses to be the most attractive city to expand and deepen their urbanization. Digitalization and the smart technologies and various innovations are also expanding, and LUCI sees that as a challenge that lighting, smart lighting, or rather let us say balanced lighting can assist, and cities want to work together on these challenges. Quality of life and sustainability is what we're looking for on the ground. Sustainable communities is a term that I like a lot. So how we can live better lives, equal lives, egalitarian, cooperative lives, that is a sustainable community, and cities can collaborate on that goal. LUCI has focused on various and multiple light applications, and what's interesting about this circular graph is that it started with safety in the 16th century and has moved through beautification, attractiveness, innovation, efficiency, and smart cities are really where we are today. The clock is turning. The clock is moving on digital cities, efficiency, and innovation for sustainability. And LUCI is concentrating, the cities that make up LUCI are concentrating on these light applications. LUCI has a phrase, cities helping cities. So in our collaboration discussion, let's move ahead and see how that works. How do the larger bodies of cities work together, and why is that important? LUCI proposes that through health and well-being, art and culture, governance issues, social cohesion, and public spaces, each of these issues add up to the quality of life of a city. And we feel that lighting contributes to 50% of the quality of life, because darkness is 50% of the world's time. Each of these pillars is led by a city or partnerships between cities to address in different ways. So for example, how can social cohesion be supported by lighting? Currently, the members are coming together on best practices for lighting through a new online hub. Public space, the public space pillar. Urban light creates distinctive ambience and nightscapes. We were talking about creating atmospheres. We're talking about attracting new visitors, new residents. The public spaces are such an important part of that, and I guess I should address COVID-19 and pandemics and the idea of health, and in the future we will be dealing with this more and more. So how can we create better and best public spaces, which are so important, which are more healthy these days? How can we create welcoming public spaces through light? And currently the partnership cities are working on best practices in this case as well. For art and culture, for example, LUCI is concentrating on cultural identity of cities and creating a collaborative light art map. So these are ways, they're enabling platforms for cities to work together, to consult with each other, to develop best practices, or as they say, good and best practices. LUCI provides a platform for cities to collaborate through events, conferences, research, and projects. I myself have been to a number of the conferences. I've seen it. I've seen the meetings, the presentations, the dialogue that the ways that cities share. And here are a few of the posters of these marvelous events that are held in different cities. Very, very lively. People who love to talk to each other, share their projects, and delve in deep while visiting a light festival in partnership with the conference, describing and planning and talking about the future of lighting in cities. One of the tools that LUCI has, very important tool, which is a framework, it's their charter on urban lighting with 60 signatories. When you sign the signatory, it's an important way of building consensus between cities. And again, the importance of collaborating between cities as well as individuals and stakeholders, as we discussed in the beginning. I was very excited recently when LUCI produced an issue of Cities and Lighting, their magazine that is biannual, called Night in a New Light. For this issue, they brought together policymakers, politicians, researchers, designers, and a night mayor. to produce some ideas and essays. A night mayor. Did she say nightmare? No, I said my night mayor, which is an ambassador, which is a person who is kind of a facilitator, a night czar, a night mayor. This is an appointee to city government. Or, as in the case in Paris, the night mayor is elected, and that position is held for tourism and nighttime. The night mayor position started as an advocacy for nightlife. So some of us say nightlife, some of us say life at night. The broader application of life at night and the targeted specific application of clubs, culture, and those sorts of activities that need a bit of finessing, need an ambassador. So here on the left, I was really pleased to see governing, covering the night mayor. On the right side of the slide, you see 3 night mayors, appointees, and mostly from the club milieu as well as from the policy milieu. So we're beginning to broaden out our night mayorships from clubs and facilitation of culture on the streets to policy. In the global night movement, we also have conferences and publications. Creative Footprint from New York, which is about music and cities. London's Think Night, a fabulous document of guidelines, cities and lighting. This is the one from LUCI. And then here we have Newcastle, Parramatta. Actually, it's Parramatta in Australia. So there are many new policy-driven programs for cities all over the world that have to do with nighttime, and they all include lighting, and some are led by lighting. The conferences are also international. For example, I attended and led a night walk at Ciudades de Nocturnos in Bogota. This one, Global Cities After Dark, is annual in Sydney. This was one in New York. So you can see that it's coming together to discuss the night as place. Night is 50% of our life. And I have to tell you, I did call my astrophysicist in Glasgow to ask him many years ago, hey, can't we have 52%? Just give me 51. He said, no, Leni, it's 50% of the day. It's 50% of time. You can only have 50%. Well, that's a lot. That's half of our life. And yet, our professional teams often don't have a lighting designer, or lighting is sort of at the bottom of the barrel in terms of full-on collaboration. I want to change that. I want to say night is so important for all the reasons we've discussed: public health, welcome, economic vitality. Let us assemble teams and an approach to night in all seriousness. LUCI says they have identified 8 lighting designers out of 70 on city staff. Let's have more lighting designers on our city departments, whether it's DOT, Department of Transportation, or Department of City Planning. Why not lighting design? So what I leave you with, and I hope that you'll give me some answers or ask further questions, how can we create better and best cities at night? If you want to contact us, there are the LUCI contact information on the left and International Nighttime Design on the right. We'd love to hear from you.